Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Tuesday, March 15th, 2011, and I'm Darko. Welcome to part 2 of this news bulletin for today. I usually ask my listeners, new listeners, and even my old faithful listeners to check out my website from time to time, www.ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. I post polls up there, and all my news videos are posted there as well. All right, we left off this article, U.S. backing for world currency stuns markets. And I basically was talking about how all these people in the Fed and the head of the Treasury, Homeland Security, the President, Secretary of State, a lot of these diplomats, they're all selling you down the river. That's what they're doing. And and when these things happen, look at it, U.S. backing for world currency stuns market. Well, you would assume based off that headline that meant, well, it was the American people that was backing a world currency. Hell no, they're not. And they're not being represented. This is a hijacking of the U.S. government. This is a hijacking of the U.S. economy. And this is the end of the individual sovereignty for the American and for most people around the world. This isn't just happening to America, the United States. This is happening globally. And it's all happening at the same time because it's part of a plan, right? And so things will happen, and stuff like this will happen, and they'll say, well, why would the U.S. want to do that? Well, like I said, because it's not the U.S. people that are bombing and killing people or propping up dictators in oil-rich countries. No, that's your NSA, CIA, that's your Defense Department, that's your domestic oil companies and your domestic national U.S. businesses that are doing that. So it says here, legislator backs gold as legal tender. Senate gave final approval Thursday to a bill taking the first step to recognize gold and silver as legal tender in the state. So as globalists are selling you down the river, as I said, like this, trying to build kill the U.S. dollar, you got some states saying, okay, well, the hell with you. We're just going to start trading in currency that actually has some kind of intrinsic value, such as gold and silver. So it says here the measure would recognize as legal tender gold and silver coins issued by the federal government. Of course, right now, it's illegal to do that, to start trading and bartering, right? You got to trade in that Federal Reserve note, that fiat piece of paper that's worth absolutely nothing. Not just their face value, but also their value in gold and silver to a collector. And it says it would not require anyone to accept them, however, but make it an option. And the thing is that some businesses, I was just watching a video recently with Stefan Molyneux, and it was talking about preparing for the economic, the inevitable, right? The economic either collapse, full collapse, or the restructuring into this hellish global, reserve currency and all that. Is basically that to start trying to barter if you can with local businesses, try to trade in silver or gold, and start building a rapport with them and a relationship with them. I'd like to start doing that myself. However, I don't have as much silver as I used to have, so unfortunately. And but if I did, I'd start doing the same thing. And it's good to do that, and it doesn't need to be legal to do that, or if it does, just do what you have to do, because like I said, when the shit hits the fan, you're the only person that's going to be able to take care of you. And unless you want a FEMA ration card, you got to be able to find food and trade and do what you have to do to survive, right? Otherwise, you're just going to be a eugenic statistic. Sorry. China's yuan strengthens 49 basis points to 6.57 per U.S. dollar on Monday. And we're going to move on here to Chinese inflation. Inflation hovers high at 4.9% in February. China's inflation steadies on government price measures. Chinese inflation stabilized in February, helped by government and central bank measures to rein in price growth. So we need a central bank intervening in the economy in order to stable their crap fake currency. Australian dollar opens higher. The Australian dollar opened a touch firmer today as rising commodity prices partially shield the local currency from fears Japanese earthquake could disrupt the global economic recovery. This is from March 5th, and which would have been March 14th, and so commodities just took a dive today. So this was one day old. It says euro tops $1.40. The euro climbed as traders embraced new measures adopted to contain the eurozone debt crisis, helping to further widen the appeal of higher yielding single currency. Then we have eurozone output grows steadily. Eurozone industrial output rose steadily in January as growth in France helped offset weaknesses in Germany and Italy. and initial estimates of a drop in December were revised to show a modest increase. Official data showed on Monday. Then we move on to the Eurozone. Likely to boost bailout fund guarantees. So like I said, corporatism, it's not just in the United States, it's global, right? And they're going to make a big pot full of taxpayer monies that they voluntarily give. No, they don't voluntarily give. They have a gun pointed at them, and if they don't give it to them, they get shot in the head if they resist jail for not paying these taxes, right? So this is money that is stolen from people and then put in a big slush fund, and then when these crony big global corporations steal and fraud money out of these taxpayers, well, they get paid for doing it. So, and then the CEOs, who have no legal liability whatsoever, take a parachute and get billions of dollars with no liability for their actions. It's great, isn't it? But we call this free market. See, we need government regulations to stop this. So the Eurozone is likely to increase guarantees for its bailout fund to boost its effective lending capacity, Eurogroup President Jean-Claude Juncker. And what is this all about? It's about bankers. It's about the bankers, and it's about the bankers being able to loan money to people that are cash-strapped and loan them on interest and then eventually take them over, right? That's what it's all about. That was the point of this whole global economic hijacking crisis. It says here, political turmoil grows in Portugal. Portugal's government is facing political turmoil that threatens to derail its ambition to solve the crisis alone, just as pressure on the country seemed to ease after Eurozone leaders agreed to widen the scope of a bailout fund over the weekend. And says here, IMF disburses 5.7 billion to Greece. So here you go. This is what I'm talking about. The IMF has agreed to pay out $4.1 billion in euro to Greece in order to boost the country's economic recovery plan. And a lot of things that they can do to fix things. You know, there's all these budget cuts going on, but like I said, they'll cut social programs, programs that really help people, and then they'll keep the defense spending going. They'll keep all of the money going to the banks with interest going. So you can see where the scam is. If you don't, you need to start opening your eyes. And it says here, unemployment rate falls in 24 states, rises in 10, and most links will be posted, like I mentioned in the last video. British job seekers face mandatory work. Those seeking employment in Britain can face compulsory placements for temporary work activity or face fines according to radical new welfare regulations. And it says here, based on proposals to reform the welfare system, the government is to give power to the Job Center Plus advisors to assign 4-week mandatory work activity to job seekers who are believed to need the taste of habits and routines of working life. Those obliged to do temporary work will have to do it for up to 30 hours a week while they continue to look for employment. So there you go. And eventually, if you look on my website, you'll see the story of basically how it's going to, the Bank of America Prophetic Art is posted on my website, and there was an individual who wrote little descriptions underneath there. And although every little detail is not, to me, factual, the majority of it is, and that's what we have coming down the pike. Or pipe for us here in the U.S. and in the globe, which is this big restructuring of the economy. But it's not just a restructuring of the economy, it's a restructuring of our society in general. And you'll see the phases, the whole FEMA camp stage going on the rail cars and the pandemics, and then everybody working underground as slave labor in prison camps and debtors' prisons, and all that is going to be coming down the road, guys. And this is just the first step to it, or the next step to it, along with what children, basically being sent to little workers' camps, or individuals being sent to, or prisoners, actually. I just covered an article recently. The Patriot missiles were built by prisoners. So there you go. And then you have these private prisons. These private prisons, a phenomenon right now that are hiring cheap labor. They're workers, and they're actually selling airline travel tickets, and that prisoners are. And so, and this isn't new, right? This was going on in Nazi Germany and Italy. They were all for low-wage workers exploiting crises and that. And, the same thing happened in the U.S. in the 40s and the 30s, right? They had workers' camps. They had prisoners. They had prisoners stamping license plates and working, right? And here we go. We're going to move on to this. Michigan bill would impose financial martial law. Michigan lawmakers are on the verge of approving a bill that would enable the governor to appoint emergency managers, officials with unilateral power to make sweeping changes to cities facing financial troubles. So now the Federal Reserve has dictatorial powers, increased powers, and the FDIC now can shut down whoever they want. And now you have basically the government getting the power to impose a financial martial law. And it says the governor could declare a financial emergency in towns and school districts. He could then appoint a manager to fire local elected officials. Wow! Manager to fire local elected officials, break contracts, seize and sell all assets, eliminate services. Wow, dude. This is my first time reading this. And even eliminate whole cities or school districts without any public input. Oh my God. So there you go, folks. I'm just letting it all set in here. U.S. Fed to meet as global crisis looms large. The Fed's top policymakers meet on Tuesday with an upbeat U.S. economic outlook. So as they're making measures such as this, right? These people they're making measures behind closed doors. That's why I said you have to open up your eyes if you don't have them open already. Because, you know, when they tell you a bunch of stuff like this, they're buying time. They're buying time as they sucker more small businessmen and, you know, the millionaires who aren't trillionaires. They're not billionaires. They're guys in your community that have businesses that are also struggling. Even if they are millionaires, they have a lot of money that they have to put back into their businesses, and all the money that they lose in taxes and in paying for permits and getting regulations. You know, being a millionaire, it isn't what you think. You're not rich. It would be nice to be a millionaire, but I don't think it's as glamorous as everybody thinks it is. I mean, once you get into the billionaire, trillionaire status, like the Bloombergs and the Gates, those people are rich. And like that video said, where are all these people spending their money? Well, I'll tell you where they're spending it. They're spending it on vaccination programs and propaganda to talk about death care, right? That's what they're spending it on. They call it philanthropy. So this next one up is Fed upgrades economic outlook while affirming bond stimulus, and says U.S. growth is becoming more durable and higher energy prices will have a temporary effect on inflation as they affirm plans to buy $600 billion of treasuries through June. So more inflation to come, folks. Executive pay gets second look after outcry over nonprofits. Could spur changes at business groups, and you can check that out. Link will be posted. Chevron appeals $9.5 billion fine. Lehman probes stalls chance of no charges. So no charges for Lehman. Bank of America leak exposes possible force-placed insurance fraud. Check that out. Wells Fargo CEO assails fee limits as price controls. Then we have FDA requires federal oversight of Johnson & Johnson plants after a string of drug recalls. Then we have number of millionaires surge in Hong Kong. U.S. millionaires say $7 million, not enough to be rich. And I agree with them, but what is the purpose of this article? Well, it's to create class warfare. So don't hate millionaires, guys. Don't hate anybody. Just know that these people, these billionaires and trillionaires are spending money on wanting to cull the population. So I don't think millionaires are. It says IRS. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? They're too busy avoiding the IRS, right? Trying to deal with the IRS. IRS boosted auditing of richest taxpayers, almost doubling the rate last year. And let's go down. Highest earners had the sharpest increase in audit rates. Said the IRS audited 11% of taxpayers reported adjusted income between $5 million and $10 million. So this isn't the billionaires and trillionaires, is it? Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe. But go in there and read that. But no, they, just like everything, the tax loopholes that they're closing and offshore accounts, that's for the little guys, right? It's really made for the elites, these global international bankers and philanthropists, and that it's for them to put all their money that they get, these ex-presidents and that, and prime ministers like Blair. This is where they put their money and store it and launder it out of all, basically let it sit there. It's for them. It's not for the little guys. British food retailers ripping off the public. Florida loses $2.4 billion for high-speed FEMA trains. Yeah, take you to the FEMA camps. That's good news. Airlines. Chicago reached $1.17 billion O'Hare Airport deal, and this, of course, is going to be funded by the taxpayers, and the airline said they don't even need it. They don't even want it, they don't need it, and they're going to force them to pay 2/3 of the cost, the airlines, for this airport. Illinois enacts internet sales tax law, so that's good. And tobacco tax hike talk snubbed out. This is GGN, and I'm Darko.